Family, happy Wednesday. Welcome to episode number 110 of Living the Shredder Life. I'm your host, Coach Jesse, high performance health and life coach. And I am joined tonight by someone who's turned in to be a very near and dear friend of mine, someone who I've been fortunate enough to help along this remarkable journey that we're hoping to share with you guys tonight, from where she was, Kathy, a year and a half ago now?
It'll be 2 years in July.
So 2 years. So a very short 2 years ago, okay? Keep this in mind, guys. All the stuff we talked 2 years ago, where Kathy started to where she is now, where she was just recently named a Isabody Finalist in North America. And we're talking like one of, how many is it again in each category, in each round?
There will be 5 for each. So
Okay.
A total of 15.
So 5. So you were one of 5 people out of thousands of entries to a worldwide company, but this was just obviously North America, which is thousands and thousands of entries. So we want to share, that's awesome. Obviously, it comes with great, prizes and trips and money and all that stuff. And from somebody looking, from the outside in who just meets you, Kathy, they'd be like, damn, she's got it going on, right? She just won $3,000. She's in the running for 25,000. She's going to get an all expense paid trip. I mean, holy smokes, like life is good. But what people always celebrate the glory, and they don't, look at the story, right? And there's always a story behind every glorious situation, right? People always say it's like, oh, overnight they made it. No, nobody makes it overnight. No. It's there. So let's dive in. Welcome, Kathy Martinez, to Living the Shredder Life. I think this is your second time on here. Maybe it's even your third. I don't know.
But yeah, I think it's my third.
Yeah. Third time on here. I think you're the only person now that's actually been on 3 times. So that's pretty special.
Yeah.
So for people that don't know you, Kathy, real quick, just, obviously we know you're Kathy Martinez. Where are you from and what do you love about life right now?
I am from Pueblo, Colorado, and right now, what I love about life is my family, which I always love about life. But we're in the season of springtime, so I'm getting ready to go do my first trip up the Manitou Incline in a few weeks. So I'm really excited about that.
Yes, and for people that don't know what that is, explain to them what that is.
So it's in Manitou Springs, Colorado, and it's this set of 2,768 steps up the side of a mountain with railroad ties. And you climb to the top, and then you hike back down about 4 miles on bar trail, and you see some beautiful scenery, and it's pretty amazing. And I was very frightened of it, to be honest. But I conquered my fear of it last year and did it twice. And this year I'm going to level up and go 3 times. So.
3 times this year. 3 times. I got to tell you, obviously, I'm a hiker. I was just out hiking with the kids today. We knocked out 4 miles. We climbed 1,000 feet of elevation. We went yesterday and saw this panoramic view. It was pretty epic. When you encounter stairs on a trail on the side of a mountain, you would think that it's easier. It's not. It's actually harder. I would rather walk up the trail than step on stairs, because the way they build stairs on a trail, they're not normal, like where you can just like step. It's like normal. It's like a big stair. So you have to like step and then get up and then like step and then get, like, you don't realize it, but over time it wears on you and it's hard. So that's an incredible feat. But let's do this, Kathy. Share the story of the first time you went up, because I think that sets the stage pretty well for how your journey started 2 years ago. Like when I first met you, right, and you first came into the ERShred community, before you and I did coaching together, before we kind of got into that, share with people that your first time, and now this year, 2 years later, you're doing it 3 times.
So, the actual first time I did it was when I was around 40, and I bailed at the bailout because I got too scared of the heights and I said, I can't do it. So then when I started ERShred, I started feeling better, and I thought to myself, I made a promise that I was going to get to the top of this thing. I'm still afraid of heights, but I want to go. Yeah. So I went, and it was hard. Like, There were times when I was on those stairs that I had to stop and get off the trail and take a deep breath. I mean, I had some tears. There were spots where it was so steep that I like literally like bear crawled up. Like I just did what I had to do to get to the top. And there were a lot of
Yeah.
people who cheered me on, but
Yeah.
when I made that top step, like I was so excited to make it, but I was so terrified that I stood like bored stiff and had somebody take my picture. And I thought to myself, I'm one and done. And
Yeah.
then when I saw my pictures, I thought, that's not the way I pictured it. I
Yeah.
think I
Yeah.
could do that again. And so I
Yeah.
did. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, so you went from so you the first time you did this though, you bailed, right? Like,
Yeah.
what is it
Yeah.
like? Where's that bailout in comparison to the top? Like, how far
Okay.
do you make it?
So the bailout is at about step 1800. And so when,
1800.
yeah, of 27. So you only have
Okay.
about 900 more steps to go. But once you hit that bailout, the steps get very much steeper.
Yeah.
And when I saw how much steeper they got the first time, I just couldn't. Like I started to go and then I started to hyperventilate and I'm like, I can't do this. So I
Yeah.
was with a friend and I said, we got to go back. We got to get
Yeah.
back down and
Yeah.
go down Bar Trail from the bailout point. And she was like, okay. And she was
Yeah.
like, pinky promise that you're going to go back to the top one day. And so I did. I made that pinky promise. And
That's
I
awesome.
even had it written on a card for myself that I found 8 years later that I promised I would get to that top step. So
I
I
love
did
it.
it.
Yeah. So, you shared, obviously you did it after, after you made a choice, after things started getting better for you. But I'm hoping that, can you share with people 2 years ago, if you can rewind back to 2 years ago, when you first made the decision to come here and to say yes and to get started on your health journey, you didn't really know what else was going to happen at that point in time. You just knew that, you didn't feel well. Like, can you describe like where were you at 2 years ago? Because I'm hoping that, if somebody's just starting their journey right now with us, or if they've started 11 days ago and they're like, okay, what do I do now? Or maybe this is somebody who's brand new that hasn't even heard of this yet and they're struggling, right? Because the sad reality is, according to statistics, majority of people that we see and encounter every day are struggling in some way with their health, right? 93.7%, something like that, some ridiculously high number of the population is metabolically unhealthy, right? So something is wrong with something with everyone, right? So where were you at that point 2 years ago? Describe life and what you thought about yourself and what your belief was in yourself.
So I had been through a lot of things, but the most pressing was a surgery that I wasn't expecting on my back. And when I had that surgery in 2019, it took a toll on me because I felt like my balance was off. I felt like I couldn't walk. And then I started to experience other symptoms because I wasn't being active. So it like compounded. So
Yeah.
when I first came into ERShred, I wasn't being at all active. Like I couldn't even get off the couch to go take a 15-minute walk after work because I was so unwell. Like my
Wow.
stomach hurt and my legs were hurting and my back hurt. And I didn't feel well. And I was
Yeah.
trying everything that I could do to turn it around, but I wasn't getting anywhere.
Okay.
And so, I'm going to be real honest. In my first 11-day ERShred, I didn't do any moving my ass. Oh, I'm so sorry with the cursing. Because
You're apologizing for cursing on my
well,
show?
I know, but
Ain't that some shit?
this is on the internet. But anyways, like, no, seriously, I felt like I was becoming more and more hopeless. Like I
Okay.
was desperate to figure out a way to make it better, but nothing I was doing was moving the needle. And
Mm.
so when I came in, I was like, I have to get well. And so I didn't make myself do any type of exercise at all the first 11 days. I just
Okay.
got through the symptoms that I had to get through to come out the other side and begin
Yeah.
to feel better. And I did. In that first 11 days, I caught the spark that, hey, this is what I could do if I just kept going. This could
Mm.
get better than it is now. So, yeah.
Very cool. And so in the beginning, like, okay, that's remarkable. If you guys didn't catch that, 2 years ago, she couldn't even walk for, any length of time. And this year, 2 years later, she's climbing 2,700 steps to the top of a mountain in Colorado. What's the elevation gain on that climb? Do you know?
I think that, I don't know off the top of my head. I
We
know
should
it's a
look that
mile
up.
up the stairs. I'll look it up. I'll let you
So
know.
if it's a mile, I'm guessing you're getting at least 1,200 feet of elevation gain. If it's just straight up, maybe even more, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I'd be curious. I'd be curious, but either way, I mean, that's a hard climb. But 2 years ago, you couldn't do that. And what else was going on in life, Kathy? Because I know there's people that feel that way, and they're like, "Look, like I feel bad. I can't. I know I need to get healthy, and I know I need to do something, and I know I need to work out." And we just kind of like viciously beat the living shit out of ourselves every day, right? And I know you were doing that, because when I first met you and coached you, I was, that's all you did. Like, you know what I mean? What was your belief like in life? What was your belief like in your ability to even change? Like, how did you feel about yourself in the beginning?
In the beginning, I felt like, I don't know how I can put this into words. I felt like I didn't want to give up, but I felt like I had put in so much time trying to get somewhere and hadn't gotten there that I was nearly ready to give up. And,
Like,
and just say, this is the way it is. I mean, I couldn't keep my grandchildren at my house unless my husband was going to be with me, because I didn't feel like I could pick up my own granddaughter because she was little and I didn't trust myself. That's hard.
Yeah. And I know your granddaughters mean everything to you. It's literally, they're your life. If you guys watch anything that Kathy does, I mean, she is a very in touch, living life type of grandma. For sure. I remember, you remind me of my Nana. She was very much like that. Unfortunately, she passed away very young at 63. She got bone cancer. But I remember every summer we'd go to their house and I'd go fishing with my papa and, my Nana. And I know that's you. I mean, look at you. You're lit up from ear to ear. And I know it's very emotional for you too, because, and thank you. Thank you for being vulnerable. I know you have the courage and the strength because you've done the work. I've watched you do the work. We've done it together. And I know that you, even though emotional, if you know Kathy today, like, these are good tears. And in the beginning, they weren't good tears. We spent many times, crying, and it wasn't, necessarily, although I think all good tears are good tears. If we look back now, we say, maybe they were needed. Maybe they were good tears because you had to flush that out. You had to get that out. You had to make that space for the new Kathy, to be born. And I'm a big believer of literally re-giving birth to ourselves. Like, the old version of Jesse, like, he was such an asshole. Like, seriously, like, no, like,
picture it.
No, trust me. I'm not that person, right? I'm not that person that chose to do those things. Like, people can change, you know what I mean? And it's been so cool to watch you change. But I just wanted people to know, because I think there's a lot of people, Kathy, that can relate to your story. And I think there's a lot of people that are suffering in silence, and they're suffering in pain. And I hope that by you being vulnerable and sharing your pain, that it will provide hope for them. It will provide, some sort of spark, right? Like you got, and I'm proud to say, from my video, you got this spark. Somebody invited you, you watched the video, and something I said, got you going on this journey, which I'm so grateful for. But that's what I hope that we can do for somebody, because gosh, we sure do have a solution, and we have the tracks for people to run on. We have those tracks. I mean, you're living proof, and we have thousands of others in our community, which you can see along the bottom. You can go to for free, and please join us. But so you started, you didn't have any belief. You didn't even have the belief in yourself that you could hold one of your granddaughters. That's where life was. That's where life was when you started. And enter ERShred, right? And you get going, and you do the first 11 days, and it wasn't perfect. It wasn't even like the way it's laid out. Like you kind of just modified it and you just did whatever you possibly could.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm pausing because I hope people understand this is not about perfection.
No.
I think we get trapped in that crap too much. And we're going to break down some barriers tonight, hopefully. Like, this is not about perfection.
No.
ERShred was not born from perfection. In fact, ERShred was born from a freaking disaster, right? It was born from a disaster. Yeah. And, as David Wood always says, every master was once a disaster. Yeah. And we were all disasters, right?
Yep.
And then you get this little spark and you do it again, right? Yeah. And then what happens after the second one? And take us through, like, I mean, you've not stopped now since.
Yeah, I've lost track of how many I've done now, but
it's crazy.
I think that once I figured out, I made it to my third shred, and that's when I did my first ever intermittent fasting. I had never tried anything like that before, ever.
Great news. Okay.
And so I got through that, and I was like, wow, this is what they're talking about with this whole come alive thing. Because my son and I were doing a yard sale in the middle of fasting, and I'm like, wow, I have energy. This is crazy. I can lift boxes. I'm strong. Like, it was just amazing. So, yeah.
So you went, okay. So if people don't know, we have different ways. So again, this isn't like a one thing, whatever, but you can choose, we have an 11-day protocol laid out to make it, stupid simple, to make it bite-sized chunks, 11 days at a time. Excuse me. We're really looking for people to go 21 days because 21 days, again, you can fight the number, but realistically it forms habits.
Yeah.
Okay. And then to keep going from there. So to put the, time, people are always like, well, how long? So she just did 3, 11 days each, 33 days. So it took Kathy a little over a month to get the come alive feeling. Okay. And you might go, whoa, a month. But again, that whole month, it kept like getting better and better and better and better, right? Mm-hmm. It wasn't like you experienced nothing.
Oh, no.
For that whole month. I mean, you had shifts along the way, right?
Oh,
What were some of the first things that you actually noticed started to clear up or get better for you?
The first thing was my energy level. I made a really small goal, really small, that I was going to go out and walk for at least 15 minutes a day for 5 days a week and give myself 2 days off so that I wouldn't feel like if I didn't feel up to it one day, that I would throw everything out the window because I said I was going to do 7 and now I can only do 5. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So I started with 5 and I said at least 15 minutes a day. And I noticed that within that very first week of getting through it, my times that I was out walking were over 15 minutes. Like I'd walk for 27 minutes and I'd feel just fine. So it gave me like a spark. I'm like, hey, I said 15 and now I did 20. I said 15 and now I'm up to 27. Yeah. And then I was like, if I did this for a week, I could do this for 4 weeks. So I just built a little bit out of a time and I started to believe in myself.
I love that. I love that so much. That's such a key thing. In personal development and coaching, I would encourage people to really pay attention to this, especially if you're just beginning on your journey or if you feel you hit a plateau. We always hear about SMART goals, specific, measurable, attainable, time frame, realistic, right? We've all heard that before. And it's great that you've heard it. The problem is you can hear it all you want, but if you're not actually implementing it, nothing's going to change. And that's, it's funny. It's like I always say, I'm like, it's common sense, but it's not common practice, Mm-hmm. And what Kathy did was she set realistic, attainable goals for herself. She wasn't looking to conquer the world. She just wanted to feel a little bit better. And I'm stopping throughout this so you guys understand this is what Kathy and I planned, because the both of us are hoping that you leave here with really some nuggets, right? You're talking about somebody who went from not even having an inch of love for herself and thinking that everything that's happened to her and everything that was there was her fault and no belief in herself. Like, we didn't dive deeper into the backstory, but I'm telling you, like, she had no self-belief, to a woman now who's conquering, anything that she puts in her way. It doesn't matter if it's scary. She's stepping into scary. She's doing hard things. She's continuing to push the limits. Like, how do we get you there? because everybody has the ability to do this. And she's telling you, she set realistic goals. She wasn't looking to take over the world. So figure out where you're at right now. You have the answer. Be real with yourself, okay? And say, okay, what can I do? What little thing can I do? Is it walking 15 minutes? Is it maybe drinking 3 more glasses of water today? Is it, standing up and sitting back down in your chair, 25 times because normally you just sat there all day? Like, what is it for you that you can do that can shift the needle and move the needle in the right direction just a little bit? Because once you start to accomplish that, like Kathy set this goal, she gave herself grace. She did the 15 minutes, but then she did more. So what did she do? She took action. That action and that result then created confidence. That confidence then made her think of more action, which then created more, right? Do you remember when we did this circle in the very beginning, Kathy? Right? Yeah. This is literally what you're doing, right? You're building that courage. You're building that step by step, right? So that's that. Okay. So now we build the confidence. We start to get a little bit of belief in ourselves, right? And I don't want people to think like that was it. That's not it. That's not it. Because there was still so much more, right? And what do you find now, Kathy, that now that you're here to where you came from, do you find that the mental side of things is more of the challenge than so much the physical and the nutrition and the eating that we thought was the hard thing?
Yes.
Like, what's your feel?
Sure.
Like,
for sure. I do feel that. I feel like that is something that I feel like I went through a phase. Like in my very first year of ERShred, I was 100% focused on getting my health back and doing all the things that I couldn't do before when I wasn't healthy. And then life came, and life threw hard things at me, and the mental part of it became the biggest challenge. And I had to work through a lot of mental obstacles where I told myself that, I was or wasn't capable of certain things, and I needed to stop doing that in all aspects. And I feel like the journey to health helped me in regards to the journey with the mental part of it, because I was committed. Once I got through first three shreds, I was committed to my health. I felt better enough that I thought, if I stay on this path, I can have the best health of my life. Why would I get off? But there were other things in my life, other areas, if you will, that are in balance when you're happy. And those things were not in balance for me. I felt pretty miserable in, my mental health, because, like you said, I would beat myself up a lot about a lot of things. And even though I was turning my health around, in my brain, I was still telling myself all of these stories that I always told myself. I mean, I feel like what
were some of the stories you used to tell yourself?
Well, I mean, it's hard. So it wasn't about
there's no rush.
It was never about weight for me when I came into ERShred, which is hard to believe because
you've lost how much now?
90 pounds. 90 pounds, Jesse.
And you're 10 pounds away from the 100-pound club.
Yeah. Okay. It was never about the weight though. But the weight part of it always played a role in my head from the time I was 19 years old until the time I came to ERShred as a 47-year-old who didn't feel well. So all of those years of my life, I told myself a story that there was something wrong with me because I couldn't lose weight and get healthy. But when I came into ERShred, my mindset changed and I said, I want to be healthy. I want to do things with my grandkids. I want to be able to go run. I want to do this or that. And when that became something that I could see being possible for me, it changed everything in that one aspect. But the mental part of getting to believe that that was possible with any area was something that still kind of eluded me, to be honest.
I think that's an important piece. So you had mentioned in there a couple key things. So you said that you think the path you took though is if your health's not right, definitely get that, because that was the thing that was able to help you get through all the other tough times, is what you're saying. Because I know
Oh
a lot
yeah.
of people, what would you say to somebody, Kathy? Were you a person that used to turn to unhealthy things when life got challenging? When things happen, would you go to that? Because I know a lot of people do that, right? Like we get trapped in these past stories or these connections with food, and when challenging things happen, we turn to, we believe that we're comforting ourselves, right?
Oh
But
yeah.
in
Oh yeah.
reality, like I think once we have the realization, we realize that we're just causing more pain on ourselves, really, in the grand scheme of
Oh
things.
yeah. I had this moment. It was in 2022, and it, I had a lot of rough stuff going on in my life, and I actually became someone who went back and started eating a lot of candy. And I hadn't
Okay.
eaten candy for almost a year, but I was in this emotional state where I thought, I can't figure this out. There's nothing I can do to fix this problem. So what am I going to do? And I knew better, but I still decided that I was going to feel better if I just had a piece of candy. And one piece
Yeah.
of candy turned it into 10 pieces of candy. And then I felt so sick from all the sugar. I'm like, why am I doing this to myself?
Yeah.
And then it was that moment that I just had this epiphany that it was because I was putting my thermostat in my brain back to where my thermostat in my brain had always been. I mean, it became a realization in that moment that at any time in my life where I felt like I couldn't fix something, I would turn to food and just eat it, thinking I would comfort myself, and it would not.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I love hearing all the analogies, like the thermostat and all these tips and tricks. Like, for those of you that don't know, where she got all this? Kathy has put in more time in listening to podcasts and reading self-development books. I think that little nugget came from Ed Milet, if I'm not mistaken.
it did.
Out of The Power of One More.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show you guys, I mean, this stuff, you can either think it's woohoo and you cannot put the time, or you can find the time, because you deserve it, to do the work and be able to get to these results. Like it's her learning these things. And then the key thing is, you can learn it, but if you don't apply it
Yeah.
and practice it. And how many times did it take you to dig out of this, Kathy? I mean, was just like you learned something and then you did it and like it was there? Or like, how does this work for a person that's
Yeah.
looking to kind of like get themselves out of a hole?
I think once I put it together that that's what I was actually doing in that moment, and that I had done it in the past, I think now when I get the urge, even if I have the one piece of candy, I realize, oh, this piece of candy is not because I wanted a piece of candy. This piece of candy is to comfort myself, and I don't need that kind of comfort. So
Okay.
I feel like it helped me to be more self-aware in that moment, and to make the choice, and to actually have a choice, because
Yeah.
I don't feel like, I mean, I know I had the choice, but in those moments in the past, I felt like that was the only thing I could do to try and comfort myself. And
Gotcha.
that's terrible,
Gotcha.
but true.
No, I
So,
mean, it's the reality of what it is, right?
yeah, yeah.
Very cool. Okay, so thank you for that. So when you mentioned, what's your belief? Like, what's your thought around why is health a wise decision to get together first if you feel you have a lot of self-development work that you need to also accomplish? Why is health, why was that such a big thing for you, and how did that help?
I think for me, the biggest part of it was when my health was not where I wanted it to be. I didn't have the desire or the motivation. It was like I was it was like something that you said on a recent live video you did. It was like all those years I was interested in
Mhm.
trying to lose weight so I could
Yeah.
be healthy. But when it didn't work out and it got hard, I was like, "Oh, well, I can't do this, so I'm gonna give up and go on the yo-yo again." You know what I mean? And now
So you were
I don't feel
interested but
that
not
way.
committed.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. But I mean, like, but okay, so I get that. But I mean, how, like, when you're doing the stressful self-development work, and you're looking into your life and you're realizing new things. And I mean, you're being hard, and you realize that these stories that you were telling, maybe they're not true, and you're taking these new leaps and these bounds. Like, by you being healthy, like how do you feel that was your, I mean, do you feel that if you didn't have your health, you wouldn't have been able to do that other work?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. 100%.
Is it
Because
because of just like how you felt, like the confidence, or why do you think that?
I don't know how to explain it, but when I spent so many of my adult years, Jesse, where I felt like utter shit every day, like
Okay.
physically.
Yeah.
And when I felt like utter shit physically, I couldn't show up for myself in the way I wanted to in other areas. And
Gotcha.
so when I was able to get my health on track, I had a lot of work to do to show up for myself because
Okay.
I had lived decades of believing that I wasn't capable of showing up for myself.
Gotcha.
But when my health was back to being better and I could do things, I felt like, okay, you've done this. You showed up for yourself. You feel better. You set out to do this and you've done it. So now take what you've learned and go get after all the other things in your life that feel like they aren't right. Because that's
Beautiful.
basically what I felt in my health. I felt like here I am at 47 years old. I'm not even 50 and I feel like crap every day. There
Yeah.
has to be something better. There has to
Yeah.
be a way to feel better. And I just need to figure out what that is.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, there's millions of people that I think feel that way.
Yeah.
I mean, I really do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they just don't know. And I would just encourage anybody that may need it to just don't worry about all the answers. Don't worry about figuring everything out, because shit's going to change along the way, and you're going to have to learn how to readjust. Just start with the simple yes. Start with one day at a time. Start with one step at a time. Like, you can always do one more thing. You can always make one more good decision. You can always, come back. If you have a setback, as Kathy said, like, it's not the end of the world, even though you may make it seem that way. It's not the end of the world. It's literally just a tiny setback. Like, choose, decide, make another good decision, make another good decision, make another good decision. And that's going to start to compound, right? Like, that's what we try to do with money. Like, we want to put money in a place where money is going to pay us back a higher interest, and that higher interest will then keep going, and then that money starts to compound, right? Well, it's the same thing with our health decisions. Like, every time that we choose a wise decision, right, it compounds and builds. And then, if you got your mental clarity in check, and you got your focus, and you got your brain fog lifted, and you got your inflammation in check, and your body's not freaking attacking itself every single day. Well, now you have more space, more free bandwidth, if you will, to take on more things, to go, okay, I did this. I didn't think I could. Now I'm confident. Okay, what's next? What's next? What's next? And that, my friends, is literally how you play the long game, right? And I think so many of us were just playing the freaking short game, and thinking like, oh, I got to do it, and if it doesn't go right away, it's not going to be like, no. Like, Kathy and I are diving into this because I want to show you the pieces. Like, Kathy literally started, like, it's like think of like a thing, like a connect the dots page, right? And you have to start and you have a finish. But in order to get there, it's like up, left, up, down, diagonal, over, left, right, up, sideways, backwards, up, down, over, right? It's like climbing a mountain. Like, you don't usually just go straight up like you're going to do. Usually there's a trail, and that trail snakes around the mountain. And it's called a switchback, and you're back and you're forth and you're back. And then you have a climb, and you're down and you're back and you're forth. Like, that's the path. Like, that's the path. That's why when you come into something like this, you don't go, oh, you're like, yeah, 11 days. But in your mind, like, that's just like the first mini goal, part of a bigger goal, right?
Yep.
Is you don't just come in and do, I get sad when people leave, and I'm like, no, what are you doing? Like, you haven't even given yourself enough time for crying out loud, to experience the magic that you are. Like, we want these freaking instant fixes, you know? And I mean, what Kathy's sharing with you, these are snippets, but I mean, this is a lot of life going on. Right. There's a lot of reading. There's a lot of research. There's a lot of journaling. There's a lot of setting goals and putting cards up on her wall. You see her bulletin board behind her. That's all the things she's going to do. Like, that's reminders to herself of what she has set next. And, you know, then she crosses them off. And every time, that's a new wall. It's a new barrier that's built up of confidence to remind yourself, like, holy crap, like, I did that. Holy crap, I did that. Like, I didn't even believe in myself to hold my granddaughter. And now here we are, right? And it's just, you know, people go, oh, you know, and they'll look at this and be like, oh, you know, and then they'll compare and they'll be like, man, I wish I could be a finalist. Man, this, like, you didn't even have the courage to submit your questionnaire to enroll yourself in the Isabody, you know, competition for selection. And the first time that you actually gained the courage, because of all of this other stuff, this 2-year journey, the first time you do, bang, you get selected to be a finalist, right? And that's nuts. And that came with, like, you know, a pretty significant reward, you know, and that's the possibility. Like, that's what can happen, right? On top of all of that, you know, you now believe in yourself. You're going out to the park all the time with your granddaughters. I see the pictures. You're always posting. You're on swings. You're under monkey bars. You're climbing in the playground. You know, to somebody who couldn't even freaking walk 2 years ago for 15 minutes, and now you have all of that. So what is that? I mean, what does that bring to your life? What is just that part of it alone? Never mind everything else you've conquered. Like, what has that done for your life because you kept saying yes, because you kept showing up, even though sometimes you went backwards, even though sometimes you made mistakes, even though sometimes you fell off track and you beat the shit out of yourself for that? What has that brought to your life now because you kept saying yes?
It has brought to me the most joy that I could ever imagine. When I get to actually go out on the playground and get up on the slides and play with my grandkids, like, it fills my heart with utter joy, Jesse. I mean, it seems really silly, but, like, I would take them to that playground in the years before, even before I had a surgery, and I would sit on the bench and watch them play because I was too heavy to climb up. I mean, and that's the most profound thing to me. I mean, I don't really pay attention to the scale now because it wasn't about weight. But when I realized that in less than 2 years, I had managed to go and lose and maintain a 90-pound weight loss, 90 pounds. And I tried my whole life to get there before that and couldn't get there. Like, it brings my heart so much joy knowing that when I had the right information and I wanted it enough, I could get there. And being on that playground, doing those things with my grandchildren, that was one of the biggest things that I visualized when I was at my lowest in my health. I thought, if I could get well and do that, life would be what I would do if I had all the days in the world and all the time in the world. Like, if I could sit out on the playground 7 days a week with my grandkids, I would be doing it. So it makes me happy.
Yeah. Well, it makes me happy for you because I know how much joy it brings to you. And I also want to just highlight, she just dropped another really big golden nugget for you all. If you didn't pick up on it, you know, she just said to you, one of the things that she envisioned when she couldn't even walk for 15 minutes, one of the things that she hoped for, right? A why. Right? You hear this a lot. And again, there's no right and wrong answer to this. I think we get so confused on, oh my God, I got to find my why. Like, dude, if your why is to be able to walk across your freaking house without having pain, that's your why, right? You know, and figure out, because it's going to help you on the days that are hard. And, you know, she was able to visualize that. What would that be like if she could actually play with her granddaughters versus just sitting on the bench, right? Being the inactive grandma, while in her heart, she was desperately wanting to be so much more. I mean, gosh, can you imagine how that would crush your soul every day if like that's like what you wanted and you couldn't do it? And then using that pain to catapult yourself into accomplishing anything that you set your mind to, and being able to actually take that vision that probably seemed like so unrealistic at the time, right? You're like, I can't even freaking move. And here I am envisioning myself crawling, chasing my granddaughters. But guys, this is this is how powerful visualization is. This is why Olympic athletes do this. This is why professional athletes do this. This is why there's science on this, right? So fight it or do it. I mean, the choice is yours, right? Like, I don't know. But the power of visualization, by her doing that, she was able to catapult herself. And every time it got hard, it was a reminder, nope, this is what I'm doing it for. I can do hard things because this is what I'm doing it for. And that's called commitment, right? You're not just interested in losing weight. You're not just interested in getting healthy. Man, everybody says that shit. Why are 93.7% of people metabolically unhealthy? If everybody says that, right? Everybody says that. So that's an example, right? That's the power of a why, the power of visualization, the power of commitment that I really truly hope everybody can experience at whatever level it is that you need, because it really has the ability to shift your life, right? Okay, cool. So I mean, gosh, so we went from all of that to where we are now. Obviously 90 pounds, ridiculous inches. You got your life back with your granddaughters. You're experiencing all of that. Then obviously, you get the courage. You see somebody else. This is the importance of making sure we're going. You see somebody else do Isabody. You got encouraged that you should do it, and you get selected. You get a phone call in a really hard period of life, right? Yeah. You were very challenged. You're actually in a hospital. We'll just leave that story there. Yeah. When you got this phone call, and sadness combined with happiness, but you learn how to manage all of it now. Again, a 2-year journey. So don't be like, oh my God, I can't do that. Nope. Neither could Kathy 2 years ago. Well, Kathy, she could, but she didn't think she could. Yeah. Right. And now that she has the tools and she's done the work and she's got her health and she was able to balance all this and she gets it, right, to where now she is today. Now, Kathy, you have a new goal, right? I know you've been diving in. Let's talk briefly. You were a person that thought, oh my God, I could never, help other people. Who am I? I'm not qualified to help anybody else. Now, on top of getting your health back, on top of doing all of that, you're also now on a mission to help other people, to share with people this amazing solution that we have. And it encompasses, it's holistic and well-being. It encompasses, a health protocol. It encompasses mindset coaching. It encompasses an amazing support community of 30,000 people right now and growing. There's also a financial opportunity that I know you're getting really excited about. And it's really not about the money, right? I think people get mixed up. Like it's like everything else. I mean, this world, is all about social selling today. If you're, people are bitching about something, but then they're buying on Amazon, right? And it's just the craziest thing to me. But you're in this, and what's that shift now? Like what's the motivation of that you have? Like, why is it so important for you to share this out to people? Why do you want other people to experience this ERShred thingamajigga?
Oh man, that's a $1 million question, Jesse. And the only way that I can really answer it is that I can tell you that, again, I mean, when I think back at the periods of my life that I went through, I always tried to continue to move forward. That's my jam. But I spent so many years feeling defeated because I wasn't getting where I wanted to go with my health and my weight, that I thought there was something wrong with me. Like I internalized that shit.
Yeah.
And it became a spiral of just self-hatred. And if I can tell people that there's actually something out there that's actually easy, like that's the thing. ERShred is not hard. It's easy.
Right.
Being committed to yourself and showing up, that's the hard part. The actual following of the protocol is easy. Anybody could read it and do it. It's just the actual being committing to showing up for yourself. It's the mental game. And I feel like because I struggled so much with that for so many years and didn't put the pieces together, if I can take what I spent, from the time I was 19 years old till I was, 47 years old, if I could take that time for somebody else who's in that spot and reduce that time so they don't have to spend that many years in that spot, I owe it to them, because it doesn't have to be that way. And I didn't know it didn't have to be that way. So I feel like I am on a mission. I mean,
man, oh man, that makes me so happy to hear you say that. Just so you know, because there's so many conversations I've had with you that you were just the complete opposite. I mean, you didn't believe you had anything to share with people. You didn't believe that and to hear you say like, no, like now that I'm here and I see like how the path can go, if I can minimize that and shorten that for people, I mean, gosh, Kathy, somebody who's at where you were 2 years ago, even if you can shorten your 2-year journey to, a 1-year journey because of tips and tricks and things that you can do. I mean, think of how amazing that is, that value, right? And that's what I believe that we have with ERShred, is that we have, a shortcut, really, if you will, that just, it eliminates the noise. It eliminates the bullshit. It eliminates the garbage. I mean, look, you spent, I don't know how many years trying, and you come here and all of a sudden it's like, boom, boom. Again, it's not overnight, but it's you're gaining each and every single time. Like you're going to notice every single time, because it really helps you find your way. There is no right and wrong, but it helps you with the fundamentals, and then the coaching part and the community part and the staying in, and it's just a beautiful thing. So I love that you are on this mission with us. I love that you're sharing it with the world. I think everybody deserves. Everybody just deserves to feel this amazing. Everybody deserves to have a real opportunity to create freedom, because I think that's the ultimate gift. And again, that doesn't mean that you don't work hard. It doesn't mean you don't sacrifice. It just means you got the freedom to take a vacation and sit in the mountains like I'm doing right now, or you got the freedom to, work the hours that you want to work versus what you have to work, or you got the freedom to, help out with something somewhere where you couldn't before. I mean, it's really such a big, broad thing, whatever that freedom would mean to you. Again, there's no right and wrong, and for some people it's, helping with, a little bit of extra money each month. And for some people it's providing more time in 5 years from now. And for some people it's something else. And so it's just a beautiful thing. So, all right, friend. Well, listen, I appreciate you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being vulnerable. I hope you guys got some really cool tips out of this. I know Kathy and I were talking before we came on, and her and I both made an agreement, like what we really hope, tips and tricks. We hope you got that. But if there's anything that you leave here with, if you feel down and out, if you feel that you're stuck in a freaking never-ending muck pile of thick mud that you just can't seem to get out of, we hope they leave this call with a little bit of what, Kathy?
Hope,
right? Hope. We hope you leave with hope, belief, inspiration. Yeah. Any other fun words you can think of? We hope they leave with.
No.
That's it.
No, that's it.
That's it. Anything I forgot? Any last minute things you want to say? Maybe somebody that's sitting on the fence, or somebody who's just starting out, somebody who's beating themselves up a little bit too much in life. Like, what can we leave them with?
For me, I would just say, borrow from others when you don't have belief in yourself.
I love that.
That's what I did in the beginning. I went into the community. I mean, if you go down there to the scrolling thing and you actually join the community and you go and search my name in the ERShred community, you'll see that there was a lot of lack of hope and a lot of lack of belief. But I was very open about it, and I shared it with people instead of hiding it, so that I could get some friends like Coach Jesse, who would help me to find that little bit I needed to grow my own. So that's what I would say.
I love it. I love it. Guys, drop into the comments. Let us know what you took away from this. Give a shout out to Kathy. Thank her for being here. Thank her for being vulnerable. Hope, inspiration. That's what we hope you leave with. We love you all. Thank you so much. Kathy, love you lots. Thank you so much. Have an awesome night. We'll catch you in a couple weeks. Bye-bye.
Talk to you soon.